Justin lighting his pot. Ah, the wonderful podcast. This is what, your third time on the podcast? Fourth?
Maybe the third or fourth time I've been on, yeah.
Yeah.
So we've tried to do this many, many times, and shenanigans continue to happen.
Shenanigans always happen. I mean, definitely.
Blatant tomfoolery.
You've been reading too many manuals today. Blatant tomfoolery. So what's going on with you, Justin?
Nothing much, brother. I mean, work.
So if everybody don't just tune in this podcast, this is Justin Smith of the mighty band Texas. And Justin's been on the podcast before. I love having Justin on. I'm telling y'all right now. I love having Justin on because Justin is one of those, like you said earlier, when I had the guy in the garage before, I was interviewing him for an interview of a podcast. Justin's a nerd. Like a big ass fucking ranger nerd.
Giant nerd.
Like a super nerd. Look at him. He looks like a big ass nerd, y'all.
Physically and metaphorically, I am a giant nerd. I am about 6 foot and about 290. So yeah. Physically, I am a giant nerd.
Pull that mic just a little bit closer. Yeah, right there. And you get
that good?
Yeah, this is a dynamic mic, so you got to talk into the top.
Okay. The side of it?
Oh, you done spun the mic. Yeah, right there. Yeah, just like that.
I clearly blame the Fae for that.
He pulled the whole mic out and activated Google at the same time.
Look, dude, I live in a cardboard world. I'm not used to it.
I know, man.
I'm used to military grade stuff that. Oh, okay, that's a lie. That shit breaks all the time.
I was fixing to say he just went to downgrading my whole fucking garage podcast shit.
But hey, at least when I put my mind to it, I can help you build something nice and fucking sturdy.
So if y'all don't know this, Justin actually helped build this whole table, and I have pictures of me and him standing on top of it with a fucking saw cutting the bottom off. That it turned out nice.
Yeah, it's great. I absolutely love this motherfucker.
Oh, I'll carry it with me the rest of my life. I'm telling you, it's a poker cable. It's a mead tasting table when you pull the monitors off of the stand, and then it's a podcast table when you throw the monitors on and the mics. I mean, it's one of those all-in-one tables.
It is. It's very versatile and quite useful, and I absolutely love it.
Oh, my God. And the color's great. I mean, it took that stain. Oh, it was so good. It was fucking wonderful.
And believe it or not, beforehand, it was just a giant electric cable spool.
Yeah. Where did we go? We went
a pretty ways away.
Was it, not Waxahachie, but it was...
No.
Shit. Where was it at?
I know we had to go through Quitman to get there.
No, we didn't. We went north. Glade, not Gilmer. I don't know. It was up by Dallas.
Bubba, Quitman is north.
You're right. So we went west.
Okay, so we went west.
And you're right.
Okay.
Quitman is north. You almost got me on the mistaken deal. So full. And how long do I got you? You got any engagements? So you're drinking mead right now, right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. So yeah. You don't have a plan for nowhere.
We're here for a little while, yeah.
Okay. So let's start at the beginning. Tell me about Justin
in the
Smith.
Beginning. There was a giant bang.
There was a giant cow that went boom.
Yes. No. So like Clyde was saying, I'm from here. I mean, I was born in Mineola back, way back when they had a hospital.
Yeah, I was just telling somebody about that hospital because that's where I was born at.
Yeah. My younger brother Jeremiah was, I think, the last year that they were actually having births there when he was born. That year was, I think, the last year they had them because my youngest brother and my baby sister were both born in Athens.
Oh, in Athens?
Yeah.
Okay. Because, they had the hospital and then I think a nursing home.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had the slaughterhouse across the street. Because the slaughterhouse on the side of
Long pig's a thing if you don't know. There are recipes. I may know some.
You may know some. So you were born in Mineola, Texas.
I was born in Mineola. I was raised in Van. I was here.
You went to elementary school, junior high?
Yeah, I actually went to the old J.E. Rhodes Elementary School.
Yeah, I did too. The round room. Remember the round room?
Oh, yeah, the big-ass round room in the kindergarten building? Yeah.
But didn't you get the new junior high?
I was one of the... I got to go to the new junior high when it was first built and went to the same high school everybody else has went to since kind of forever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it burnt in like 79 or 78, but it's still the same place.
Yeah, it's still the same building. It's still very much the same. I mean, they've been adding on since then and everything like that. They built Mr. Skeeter's a ginormous
You seen that?
shop build. I haven't been inside of it, but from what I have heard, it is absolutely wonderful. And dude, I wish we would have had that stuff.
I have 2 kids in Mr. Skeeter's shop right now, and they steadily come home and talk about the shit they get to play with.
Oh yeah, laser, like CNC machines and lasers. It's awesome. I would have killed.
I can't impress my kids no more with shit I got in my garage. Mr. Skeeter's is up there with it all.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, when you're, you know, Mr. Skeeter's and everything that goes with that,
you know what?
You get a little pull.
I heard a rumor, and nobody's been able to validate that rumor, that Mr. Skeeter's actually went to MIT.
That is the rumor. And for those of you who haven't met Mr. Skeeter's, speaking to Mr. Skeeter's is an experience that you will never forget. The rumor is Mr. Skeeter's was a Marine. And the rumor is Mr. Skeeter's is a graduate of MIT. And those two should never be in the same sentence unless you are specifically talking about Mr. Skeeter's.
I haven't heard the Marine thing.
Yeah, I don't know if it's true or not. I'm not going to be ballsy enough to ask.
I get. You know what? What's messed up is I could buy it.
It's very viable,
and I could buy the MIT thing.
Yeah, Mr. Skeeter's is extremely intelligent.
Man,
you can speak to him and
on different levels.
On different levels, and just you can have a simple conversation with Mr. Skeeter's, and you can just hear the intelligence behind the words he uses.
And he teaches wood shop,
metal shop. Well, he teaches everything.
When I went to high school,
he was when Mr. we were in high school, Mr. McCaffrey was the metal shop teacher. I actually took AutoCAD with Mr. McCaffrey.
I did too. That's how I got my degree.
That was an experience. Mr. McCaffrey was quite unique.
I blew through everything in the first week, and Mr. Mac says, "Well, here's college level. Go ahead and play with it."
Yeah,
and it was it was wonderful.
Mr. Mac's AutoCAD class was quite interesting. It was to the point when I got out of it, when I got through doing the first year of it, my uncle, who had a construction company at the time in Tyler doing concrete, but he built a lot of his own things, was trying to convince me not to go to the military and to go to college to get my full degree in AutoCAD and come back to work for him.
I've had one of those guys on this podcast before that did just that.
Yeah.
Dropped out, went to TJC, took the class, and like, this sucks. I know more than y'all are teaching me right now from high school.
Yeah.
And he is actually running one of the biggest machine shops here in East Texas.
Van is always taught. I mean, we catch a lot of, we get a lot of shit, why can't you do math straight? Well, it's okay. I went to Van High School. It's fine. But just steadily, the kids that have graduated from Van every year have progressively gotten much more advanced. And I love the fact that I look back at what I did in high school and look at what some of my friends' older kids are doing in high school now. And I am completely blown away and absolutely amazed by it. They have a robotics team. They have science teams, debate teams. It is completely a different school than when we went, but it is in a good way, a completely different school.
When my son went to prom, it was spring formal. He brought a bunch of his friends over, and one of them is in high school, owns her own business. She's selling the shit out of shit on I think it's Instagram. But that drive from school is what gave her that motivation, from what I could tell. I mean, I talked to her and showed her my beer.
I like the fact that not only are they pushing college, but they're also pushing things like trade schools now.
Oh yeah.
Much into more of the things like robotics, coding, welding, HVAC. They're going back to pushing trade schools just as well as college, and that to me speaks volumes.
What do you smoke
for those? Just straight tobacco.
Oh, it's straight tobacco on your pipe?
Yeah, it's just straight tobacco on the pipe.
If y'all don't know, Justin's got a wonderful pipe. Show your pipe, Justin. Check this pipe out.
So I got this on a website. It's called pipesandscars.com. But what they also have on there is estate pipes. So this pipe is was somebody else's at one point, and then it got sold to pipesandscigars.com, and they clean them up, sterilize them, make sure they're good to go.
Yeah.
And then they resell them.
That's actually cool.
Change out the stems and everything like that.
So there's no telling how old that pipe is.
I mean, it's no telling, but it's great. I love it. It's actually one of my favorite pipes.
Does it smokes good, huh?
Yeah, it does. It actually smokes well.
It's got a big bowl on it.
Yeah, it's good because I have the same problem most people my size do. It's called gorilla hands. So tiny things don't last around me. Indicated by the microphone incident earlier.
Yeah, you knocked the whole microphone over. So you graduated high school, Van.
I graduated high school in 2002 and had already been planning for, according to most of my family, forever, to go into the military.
Yeah.
And
so did you go straight into the military?
Yes, because as you know, most people my age, and a little bit older, a little bit younger, trade centers got hit while we were in school.
Yep.
And I had already been talking to the recruiters. I was already in the delayed entry program, and I had already basically half signed to go to the Army. And the trade centers happened, and the rest is 14 years of jumping out of airplanes and blowing shit up for a living.
So you left Van and went straight to where?
I left Van, went to Fort Knox, Kentucky.
Basic training.
For my OSET. For combat arms guys, we do basic and AIT, which is your advanced individual training. Yeah. We do basic and AIT at the same place. It's the same place, same bunk, same drill sergeant, from day 0 to however long it takes you to graduate. And it was a unique and interesting experience on many levels.
So how long did you stay there?
I was there probably 16, 18 weeks.
Oh, no shit.
I mean, you'll have to forgive me about lengths and dates right now, because that was literally
20 years ago?
20 years ago.
Yeah. So straight out of Van, Texas, straight there.
Straight there. From there, I came back for about 2 weeks because I signed up for the hometown recruiting shit.
Yeah.
From there, I went to airborne school. What? And graduated airborne school. And then,
what's airborne school?
So airborne school is the school the Army does that basically certifies and teaches you how to be a complete idiot and jump out of airplanes for a living. I was going
to say, they pushed you out or did you jump?
So funny story. I have always been what is referred to as a heavy drop.
Yeah.
Even when I was younger, a little bit smaller, I was still classified as a heavy drop. So I was towards the back of the plane at the end of the stick.
Because you're going to fall faster.
Yes, you'll fall faster than the lighter people who jump first. The idea is that you all land relatively at the same time.
Okay. What kind of weight did you have on you at that point?
For training jumps, it was literally just shoots.
But I mean, how much did you weigh?
Oh, how much did I weigh at the time? Yeah. At that point in time, I was about 200 pounds, 195, 200 pounds.
It's not bad at all.
Yeah.
So you got pushed out of airplane?
No. I was standing back. Well, so to be honest with you, that was like the second time I'd ever been on a fucking plane in my life.
Okay. So when was the first time?
The first time was when I flew to Knox. Interesting in and of itself. I'd never been on a plane, never been in an airport. Giant fucking shit show. Because that was right after 9/11 and everything was just fucking retarded. Yeah. And I'm walking through the airport in a pearl snap shirt, big ass goddamn metal belt buckle, cowboy boots.
like the good East Texas country boy that you are.
I mean, those were the clothes I had. Yeah. So I, thankfully, when we walked up to security, there was already a liaison at the security line for the military, and basically handed a bunch of paperwork to the security guys, and the security guys walked us around the line, all the security stuff, and got us through. We got on the plane, had to jump flights once, but wound up in Fort Knox, Kentucky. Okay. But that was jump school, airborne school was literally the second motherfucking time my ass had been on a plane.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are unaware of this, it is not a perfectly good airplane. That quote is a lie. I have watched crew chiefs on C-130s refill the hydraulic fluid, and there's every motherfucker in the Air Force that is out there right now screaming at me, well, that means it's working, goddammit. No, that means there's some fucked up shit going on, and they're refilling the hydraulic fluid mid-fucking flight.
They're over there taking the cap off and pouring hydraulic fluid in there.
Yes!
So the wing flaps can work.
But and I'm naturally nervous as shit because well, it's the second time I've been on a plane and I'm about to jump out this motherfucker.
Yeah.
And we'd already done ground week, we'd already done tower week, so this was jump week.
Oh, okay. We're gonna get back to tower week.
Okay.
I want to know about that one. But jump week.
So jump week, my first jump, you do a total of 5 jumps at jump school to be qualified.
Okay.
And so my first jump, I'm standing there in Sergeant Airborne. And this particular Sergeant Airborne was this very short, very wide, thick-chested Filipino gentleman. And all I hear from the front of the plane is, hey, big man. Yeah, you in the back. I kind of leaned out. Yeah, you motherfucker. Am I going to have to kick you the fuck out this plane? And I thought about it for a second, and I'm like, no, Sergeant Airborne, I'm going to jump. And literally that made me to the point where no, I can't let this motherfucker kick me out. I cannot let him kick me out the plane. I cannot fuck up like that. They can't do that anymore though.
But you didn't know that.
Well, at the time they could still kick you out of the plane when I went.
But they can't do that.
They can't do that anymore. It was causing too many injuries because people would freak the fuck out, have a panic attack, pass the fuck out while they're in the plane, not land right, and fuck your shit up.
Yeah.
So
he screamed at you.
He screamed. He basically
Were you
hollered
the
down
very
the
last one?
No, I wasn't the very last one. There was about 3 guys behind me.
Were they bigger than you?
Yes.
So he didn't really care who stepped out?
No, he didn't give a fuck who leaned out. It was to make a point. Basically, it was while we were getting close to the DZ.
Yeah.
And he yelled so the entire plane could hear him.
Yeah.
Well, he knew there were bigger guys in the back. So if he just says, hey, big man,
yeah,
he knows somebody's going to motherfucking look. Well, it was my dumb ass that looked.
Did anybody not jump out?
From that first one that I can remember, I don't believe so.
So you got to the door and you're clamped onto
you basically, all of your jumps in airborne school are done static jumps. Mm-hmm. They're static line jumps, which is the main airborne operation standard jump is a static line jump.
Mm-hmm.
And you clip your rope onto a wire that essentially runs the length of the plane. And as you shuffle up to the fucking door, you're sliding that static line along the cable, and then it's handed off to an assistant jump master. They grab it, slap it in their hand, hold it back, and you exit the motherfucking plane.
Oh, so they actually pull the chute for you?
No, what it is the weight of you falling is essentially what triggers the chute.
I got you.
So when that static line goes taut, that's why the cadence is always 1, 1000, 2, 1000, 3, 1004.
Yeah.
And then if you don't feel a massive jerk from behind you at 4 seconds, you look up and make sure that bitch is open. Because if it ain't fucking open, you got to pop your reserve.
Yeah.
And if that bitch don't work, well, at that point in time, it's best to get right with whoever the fuck you believe in, because you're probably going to be meeting them soon.
Have you ever had your chute not
Have
open?
I ever had to pop my reserve?
Yeah.
Yes, once.
Oh, shit.
And I don't give a fuck who says otherwise. That is the scariest fucking moment in my damn life. And I've been through some fucked up shit.
So you were counting.
Yeah, well, you just naturally count in your head. It's 1, 1000, 2, 1000, 3,
Were you
1000.
at 6?
Pop! And I said 4 because you usually can't say it. And I said 4 and I'm like, fuck. And so I fucking popped my reserve.
How quick did your reserve come out?
Instant fucking taneously, dude.
No shit.
Very rarely, from what I have experienced in my life, does a main chute not deploy.
Yeah.
Now, deploying and then staying deployed is another thing because shit just fucking happens.
Yeah.
Cross freezes. idiots above you fucking drifting into your chute, stealing your wind. It shit's crazy up there.
Mm-hmm.
But very rarely does a main chute not deploy, because I don't give a fuck what anybody says. The most stressful motherfucker. There's two extremely stressful jobs in the Army.
Yeah.
One is a recruiter.
Okay.
Because those motherfuckers have the highest suicide rate in the Army.
Yeah.
And shortly behind them, not by much, are parachute riggers.
Oh.
And the guys that actually pack the chutes, they inspect the chutes, pack the chutes, and everything like that. And those guys live under just massive amounts of fucking stress. Because if they if say a chute doesn't deploy and a reserve doesn't deploy, there is an investigation. And say they were found negligent in their duties, then they serve a murder charge in Leavenworth.
Oh,
like,
no
that's not
shit.
a joke. Like, that is like straight up. Those dudes, God love them, because those motherfuckers are some stressed out motherfuckers. Let me tell you.
I can imagine.
No, neither could I, because fuck that job.
But they do nothing but pack all the guys.
That's what they do. They pack parachutes, and every once in a while they have to jump with their own chute. Because they have to maintain airborne qualifications as well.
Yeah, I got you.
So when they jump, they literally have to jump with a chute they fucking packed.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's some crazy shit, dude.
So you jumped out of a perfectly good airplane.
Yeah, perfectly good airplane. But I did my jumps and became airborne qualified.
Yeah.
And got orders. Had pre-gotten orders to Korea. That was my first duty station.
Your first duty station?
My first duty station was Korea.
No shit.
Yeah.
Korea is pretty though, right?
Korea is very beautiful if you like straight vertical mountains on top of straight vertical mountains on top of more straight vertical mountains. I was loving it.
Yeah.
My big ass loved it. Because it was cold.
Yeah.
Korea that is cold. Where I learned true appreciation for the word cold.
Oh, no shit.
It is another level.
Where were you stationed at? The DMZ?
I was a little bit south of the DMZ. Right. I was about 3 miles south of the DMZ. And so when I was there, I got picked up by a LURS company. LURS is the predecessor to LURP. Okay. It's Long Range Surveillance Detachment.
Okay.
And literally they needed people that were already airborne qualified in a combat MOS. And
because if something went wrong, they could...
Well, no, it's traditionally the only people that wind up in LURS companies are people like forward observers and infantry.
Okay.
So when I got there, they just happened to need motherfuckers that were already airborne qualified because they can't get new people unless somebody really volunteers to go there that's already airborne qualified and either like an infantryman, a medic, or a forward observer, something like that.
Gotcha.
And I showed up, they were needing people. They had a representative there. Guy walks in, says, "Who the fuck here is airborne qualified in a combat MOS?" And 2 of us raised our motherfucking hands because we were privates and fucking stupid.
This was right out of basic.
This was right out of basic, right out of jump school, first duty station, first couple of days in Korea is when this happened.
Okay.
And so from there, I was at that point in time, individuals deployed to Korea, not whole brigades.
Okay.
And so I did my full year rotation with the LURS company there.
So you spent a full year in
South Korea. I spent a full year in Korea. You can try and pull an Ironman and not do mid-tour leave, essentially. And I did not, because at that time, my son was born in July of that year. So I was like, fuck a bunch of that. I'm going home. I'm going to see my kid. And while I was there, the invasion for Iraq happened. Everything was very touch and go for a long time because at the time, senior in charge of North Korea was doing the same thing most of them have always done.
Kim Jong-il.
Yep. Were running his mouth saying, "Oh, well, if America goes into Iraq, I'm going into South Korea." He was
sending missiles across the China Sea too, right?
I believe at that time, possibly. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But at that point in time, it was literally, we were on lockdown like fucking every other week.
So you spent a year in South Korea.
Yep.
close to the DMZ.
Pretty close. Now there were dudes stationed on the DMZ.
Yeah.
There were at that time Americans were stationed on the DMZ. Now it's actual South Korean military that are stationed on the DMZ.
Okay.
And slowly the American forces have pulled south.
So what did you do for that year? I mean, what did that year consist
basically while I was there, I got OJT'd as an infantryman.
of?
So my original MOS when I went in, I was a 19 Delta. I was a scout.
Okay.
Basically, my job was to go find the bad guys, find the trail to get to the bad guys.
If you know anything about Justin, you would understand why he was scheduled as a scout.
So, and that was essentially that's what we did.
Yeah.
But when I got to Korea, I got picked up by Alert's team, and their job is to do specific reconnaissance on specific sites, specific targets, specific individuals. And I got trained by some really, really, in my opinion, some badass motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And my first platoon sergeant and my first team leader made massive impressions on me as a young soldier as to how to conduct yourself as an NCO, as a soldier. Sergeant First Class Washington. Sorry, let me get that right. I don't want him to jump out of a bush and fucking strangle me. Sergeant First Class Washington at the time was just this massively intimidating man. He was probably a good 6'2", 6'3".
Oh, no shit.
And spoke with a voice that just demanded respect. He didn't yell. He didn't scream. He didn't holler. He didn't have to.
Yeah.
He just had one of those voices that just projected you needed to respect this man. Extremely intelligent.
Oh, no shit.
And he and Sergeant Womack, my first team leader, were very big influences in my military career. Two of the main NCOs I modeled myself off of as to how to act, as to a guidepost to look back on and go, no, this is how I should conduct myself in this situation.
Okay.
And I met some really cool guys there. I got to meet a lot of really cool individuals.
You spent a year there.
Spent a year there, and then wound up getting orders to
Did you ever get leave?
Georgia.
Hold on.
Yeah, I got leave. I got I think they did like I think it was like 12, 14 days, something like that.
What's it like in Korea? South Korea.
So in South Korea, it's really cool. Got to go down to Seoul a couple of times.
Yeah.
And that is a massive, massive fucking city. That is the biggest city at that point that I'd ever fucking been to in my life. That was the first time I'd seen real fucking snow.
Coming from Van,
Texas, that was the first time in my life that I saw snow. Like down here, I mean, it took an Arctic vortex a couple of years ago for us to get 9 inches.
Yeah.
When it snows there, we're talking fucking feet.
No shit. So, I mean, how's the people there? I mean, coming from Van,
it was going into the Army from the tiny little town of Van, Texas, not to insult Van. It was a culture shock like none other. I was in basic training and AIT, OSET, with guys from California, guys from New York, guys from Maine.
Yeah.
All over. We had a guy that was literally the spitting image of what one would refer to as a corn-fed motherfucker from Kansas. He was big. But it was a really big eye-opener for me.
Yeah.
And it clued me into the fact that what I had grown up with here in Van was not the norm.
Yeah.
And so I grew up, I will be the first to admit this, I am extremely lucky with my family.
Yeah.
I have a massive family. We give a shit about each other. I had 2 extremely wonderful parents growing up that did everything in their power to give us everything we ever needed.
Yeah, so your dad.
They worked their motherfucking asses off, giving us a good life.
Yeah.
And we didn't have everything. We weren't extremely wealthy. We weren't probably even middle class, but we were happy. And we knew our parents cared for us, and we knew the rest of our family cared for us. And that, to me, was more important. Looking back on it now, to me, that was much more important.
Yeah.
And going there, I realized not everybody had that. I met guys that came from single parent households. I met guys that grew up in foster systems.
Yeah.
I met guys that literally joined the military to get away from gangs.
Yeah.
And it clued me into that not everybody had what I had growing up. And it made me appreciate it that much more at the time.
And so wound up in South Korea.
And
that's another culture shock.
Had another complete fucking culture shock. So
not only they're different peoples, but
it's different people.
You don't speak their language.
No. And we had what are referred to as Katusas, Korean army attached to U.S. forces,
okay,
or Korean military attached to U.S. forces, and they did their best to help us learn at least basic polite Hangul, which is Korean.
Okay,
and did my best. Tricky for someone with a thick ass East Texas draw, especially at that point. It was not a friend to me. I did my best.
Mm-hmm.
And I would try to be polite as I could because, well, we were raised that way.
Yeah.
So I had a really interesting time over there. Got to meet some fairly interesting people. A couple of the guys that I was stationed with had made friends with a guy who owned a club down in Seoul.
Okay.
And occasionally he would come up and see them. We'd all get to hang out. Sometimes we'd go down to Seoul and see him. And the guy was honestly cooler than shit. Like, homeboy had a massive fucking fro.
Oh, no shit. Did he speak English at all?
Oh, yeah, he spoke great English.
Okay.
And a lot of the people that I met there spoke English. And I would do my best to be polite and at least try to speak Hangul correctly. And ran into an older gentleman. We were at a club one time, and he had asked me a question in English, and I tried to respond in Hangul, and he looked at me and with a very straight, serious face, you know that face your grandfather gives you when you done fucked up?
Yeah.
He goes, "Young man, I understand what you're trying to do. Trust me, I appreciate the fact that you're attempting to try. Please, for the love of God, stop."
What'd
Just
you
stop.
say?
I don't know. To this day, I can't remember. I was trying to answer his question, but apparently I said some things that were wrong, to say the least.
Bro asked him to clip his toenails or some shit.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
But he basically informed me that he understood what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, just
keep
stop.
Speaking English.
Just stop.
Yeah.
Just speak English. I speak English. You speak English. Let's just do that.
So I know you're a big food guy. What's some of the crazy shit you ate?
Oh, so crazy shit I ate in Korea?
Yeah.
Dog.
Really? Was it good?
Kegogi? Oh, dude, it was fucking amazing. I'm not gonna lie about that shit. That shit was good as fuck.
How was it prepared?
Not fit for discussion on modern social media. Let's say that.
Was it barbecued?
It's kind of a version of Korean barbecue.
Yeah.
How they prepare the meat for cooking is what we're not going to discuss.
Okay. How'd they serve it? Let's go with that.
Essentially, it was, you can do it. They would do it either fried or stir fried. It's much like bulgogi. So it's more of a stir fry with sometimes noodles, sometimes rice.
Did you know what you were eating before you ate it?
Fuck no. Fuck no. Because Corporal Lee is a sneaky motherfucker.
Oh, yeah.
Corporal Lee was the assistant team leader, and he would take guys out to go eat at Korean restaurants.
Okay.
And he would order. And we just eat like, I was raised, you ate what the fuck was put in front of you, even if you didn't like it.
Definitely.
But if somebody asked your opinion, you were honest, but you were polite at the same time.
Yeah.
So Corporal Lee had this thing where he'd take the new guys out to go eat Korean food. And we went, he ordered food.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the fuck it was. And so the plate was set in front of me. I ate it. Shit was good. I asked if I could have more. And Corporal Lee's like, you know what that is, right? No, motherfucker, I don't. It was meat and it was some seasonings and it was some rice and some other shit. And it was delicious and I would like some more.
Yeah.
He goes, would you like to know what it was? Sure, fuck, hit me up.
Yeah.
He goes, that was kegogi. Kegogi is dog. And I'm like, so I just ate a dog. He goes, and expecting to see me freak out.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, you just ate a dog. I'm like, can I get another one though?
Let me get another
Blew his
chihuahua.
brains. Just,
Yeah. I mean, you're already into it. You can't back
Oh
out.
yeah, it was good. I'm not gonna lie. I don't give a fuck what food is. If it fucking tastes good, it tastes good. End of
Okay.
story.
So we're going to get on that because I know you've been a lot of places. So I want to know about some other food you ate. So you're spending a year in Korea.
Yeah.
You come home to see your son.
Came home to see my son and got married to my first ex-wife.
Yeah.
And went back, finished up my tour there, got orders to Fort Stewart, Georgia.
Okay.
Wound up Fort Stewart, Georgia, doing the same thing I did in Korea. And got to go to some other schools while I was there. The first year I was there was prep up for our immediate deployment to Iraq.
Oh, okay.
And
you're infantry at this time, or airman?
Yeah, I was an infantryman at that time. And from there, so there's a reason in the Army 3rd ID is referred to as the Marne Express. 3rd ID slogan is Rock of the Marne.
Okay.
It goes back to World War I and World War II, I believe. But essentially, one of the units inside of 3rd ID was on the Marne River, and the entire units along the Marne were told to pull back. Well, a unit from 3rd ID held the Marne so the rest of the units could retreat and wound up stalling the advance at the time.
Okay.
And so literally at that point, from then on, the unit was referred to as the Rock of the Marne. Mm-hmm. And that's their greeting of the day, Rock of the Marne, sir, blah, 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 blah. And once I got there, I got into a unit and was basically told that we were gearing up to deploy at the end of the year.
Into Iraq.
So into Iraq. That was my first duty that was my first combat deployment.
This
was in Iraq.
Second Iraq War.
This was at the time they were going by OIFs. This would have been OIF 3.
Okay.
It was 2002. Korea.
14.
That was 05 to 06
Okay.
was that specific deployment. And did the usual train up, went to JRTC down in Fort Polk, went to NTC at Fort Irwin in California out in Death Valley. Fuck a bunch of that shit. That is hot as balls. There's a reason you go there because it's hot as balls. Train up, got sent to a few schools, and deployed. And had some interesting scenarios over there.
So they'd already invaded Iraq at this point.
Yeah,
right?
the initial invasion had already completed. The ground war was still going on. Mm-hmm. While I was there was when said individual came on TV and said the ground war was over, we had won, and
they
were not rehiring the Iraqi army or the Iraqi police, and that upset a lot of people. And that was a very interesting next rest of the deployment.
Okay, and how? In what way?
So used to I wouldn't talk about this stuff, but I'm kind of getting a little bit better about it. I got blown up like 9 fucking times that deployment. The first one was probably the scariest in my opinion. We were in a Humvee, and I was stationed in Baghdad at this time at what used to be called Camp Cuervo. And we were heading south on Route Pluto, which if you've been to Iraq and you've done the deployments, you know this road. It was sketchy to say the least. Mm-hmm. And we were heading down to a small community, and we were doing, at the time, the doctrine was you drove as fast as you fucking could to avoid the IEDs.
Okay.
Because at this point in time, they were hand triggering them.
I got you.
So they had to get their timing right and hope they hit somebody. Mm-hmm. Well, homeboy got lucky. I was driving a Humvee for a PsyOps crew because their driver was on leave.
Okay.
And we were probably doing, I want to say, at least 70. And had a very large IED go off to the front right, and we're running the right lane of the highway.
Okay.
And got an itchy feeling on the back of my neck. My hair started to stand up. Looked at the TC. Hey, something's about to, and then white, just fucking white.
Did it flip the Humvee?
It did not flip the Humvee, but we went from 12 o'clock to about 10.
Yeah.
And I could hear the TC yelling at me, keep your foot on the gas, keep your foot on the gas, keep your foot on the gas. Little did he know, my foot was through the floor, basically trying to keep my foot on the gas because fuck.
Yeah.
What it had done, essentially, the shrapnel from it had essentially fucked up the engine, just basically fucked that bitch up sideways.
Yeah.
And we had shifted to about the 10 and were steadily slowing down because the engine was dead. We were just going off of leftover momentum from doing 70. And the guy that was in the gun at the time had gotten rocked back, hit his head on the turret, on the top of the turret hatch, and slammed forward into his gun. Like, he had a nice little cut right there. Nobody died. Scary as fuck. Not gonna lie, my ass probably ate a good half of that seat.
So you're sitting there with a dead Humvee.
I don't remember what happened. Like, the last thing I remember is him telling me to step on the gas, and me saying I am, and it's just blank. And then I remember coming to, leaned up against what's called a PLS. It's kind of like a big flat rack truck.
Mm-hmm.
They were loading the Humvee onto the flat rack trailer and pulling the flat rack trailer up onto the PLS. And an NCO came over and was like, "Hey, Smitty, you need to move. They're moving that flat rack." And I just remember coming to, and I'm like, "What the fuck happened?" He goes, "You don't remember shit?" I was like, "I don't remember nothing after fucking being told to keep my foot on the gas. Everything's just blank." He's like, "Well, that was like 40 minutes ago. So we need to go see Doc." Went and talked to Doc.
Yeah, you had a concussion.
Yeah, went and talked to Doc. He checked me out. Apparently, my brains got scrambled. Surprise, surprise.
I'm sure the next 7 times didn't help.
Yeah. The next few that happened after that didn't help the situation.
Were they mostly IEDs?
Yeah. They were, all of the blown up scenarios were all IEDs.
Yeah. And those, I mean, anybody can make one. I mean, it's fucking, coffee can.
This is my philosophy, and it was my philosophy going into the deployment. You don't know when your time is up. We all have an expiration date. Yeah. You could be inside a tank in full body armor with Secret Service surrounding you, and your ass will die of a heart attack.
That's true.
You go when you go, and ain't nothing going to change that.
No.
So after that one, it pretty much solidified. After the first one, it pretty much solidified in me that, fuck it, I'm going to go. But
so did you have problems after that with IEDs?
I
mean, mentally.
The worst IED I didn't get hit by.
I'm talking about before when you were getting in a vehicle to leave, you ever worried about an IED?
I can't hear you right now. What?
When you were in a vehicle going, were you ever worried about an IED?
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, everybody was over there. It was not something we focused on.
Yeah.
But it was something that was always in the back of your mind. Is this the day? Do I get? It's not a matter of if I'm going to get hit. It's a matter of when am I going to get hit?
Yeah.
So for a lot of us, it was, I mean, Doc, our fucking medic, that poor bastard. He got IED'd like 12 fucking times in different fucking vehicles. The 13th wasn't an IED. A mortar round had been launched into the base and blew up beside the Humvee that he was coming back off of patrol on.
No shit.
He did not have good luck that deployment. He had good luck because he lived. He survived. Don't get me wrong. He was lucky. But that dude just kept getting hit.
So you had 8 IEDs on that one deployment?
Nine in that one deployment, yeah.
No shit. That's a lot.
Yeah, for me, that's a lot.
Definitely a lot.
But yeah, that was my first deployment.
How long was? Oh, okay, that was your first.
Yeah, that was my first deployment. It was a standard 12-month deployment.
12-month deployment.
Yeah, 4 year.
So at this point, you've been in the military what, 3 years?
At that point, yeah, about 3-4 years.
Yeah.
So I was Rock and Yield Sham Shield, the specialist rank E4 Mafia, baby. and I did the word E4 Mafia fucking proud, man. I was the official black market supply sergeant. i.e., I would tactically acquire shit from other people.
Okay. Which would be alcohol.
Which would mean there was only one original thief in the army and everybody else is just trying to get their shit back.
So you come home for what? How long?
Did the mid-tour leave thing.
Okay.
Got divorced.
Yeah.
While I was deployed. That was shitty. But yeah, like 9 dudes in my company got divorced that deployment. It was bad. Those first few years were horrible for married couples.
Damn.
And I put no blame on either party.
Yeah.
It was a stressful, shitty situation. It is what it is.
Yeah.
During war, there's not a lot of couples that can survive that. And I blame neither side unless some shitty shit just happened either way.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of couples that can survive that. And the ones that do are
strong,
very strong, and I respect the absolute hell out of guys that leave the military after a full career, having only been married once the entire time they were in. The gods love you, and that is the only thing I can fucking say.
Yeah, definitely. So you spent your 4 years in first.
Yeah, first 4 years we're in.
First deployment to Iraq.
Yeah, and so then came home. Back. Was at Fort Stewart. I spent a grand total of, I want to say, probably almost 9 years at Fort Stewart.
Oh no shit.
Yeah, because it, like I said, the Marne Express.
Mm-hmm.
You go on deployment, you come back, you train up, you go on deployment.
Okay.
When we got back, while we were over there, we got word that another brigade in the division was going to come down on orders for a rapid deployment to possibly Afghanistan.
Okay.
And I just got divorced, needed money, and was like, fuck it, I'll go. And as soon as we got back, we got put on. 3rd ID had a great policy. I love this policy. And if there are any other division commanders that ever hear this, for the love of God, do this. You got 30 days free leave before the deployment, and you got 30 days free leave after the deployment.
Okay.
And you could take leave at other points in time in the year, but that was mandatory 3rd ID policy. 30 days free leave prior to deployment, 30 days free leave after the deployment. No fucking questions asked.
Okay.
And that is an amazing policy.
So you're basically working 10 months out of the year.
Yeah. And it did wonders for a lot of dudes, because I think it would have been worse had that policy not been there, because it would have been...
What's the normal policy?
The normal policy, I'm not sure. I believe most units, from what I've heard, will do like a week or 2 of leave prior to deployment.
Yeah.
And a week or 2 of leave after the deployment.
Okay.
We literally got a fucking full 30 days.
Oh, that makes a difference. Did you come home at any point in that?
Like, yeah, I did. I did mid-tour leave like everybody else.
Yeah.
And some guys that were single would go to places like Australia or Europe.
Yeah.
And at the time I was married, so I went home.
Yeah.
And went home. Things went down.
Mm-hmm.
Bah.
Yeah.
In the past.
Went back
to the deployment.
Yeah.
And when we came back, literally, I want to say maybe a month after we got back off of that leave, I was in another brigade because I had volunteered to
Afghanistan.
rapid deploy. Well, orders got changed. We didn't go to Afghanistan. We wound up going back to Iraq.
Okay.
And that time was wonderful. I mean, it was scenario wise, it was the shittiest deployment out of all of them. However, it is the one I look back on the most and say was my best deployment because of the guys I was with and the bonds that were made with people on that specific deployment.
Were you stationed in Baghdad again?
No, we were actually, that deployment, we were supposed to go over for a year, another basic year deployment.
Yeah.
Wound up getting extended while we were there, and it turned into a 15-month deployment.
Okay.
And we were actually in the Anbar. in the Anbar province. We were actually with Marines.
Okay.
And we fell under the Marine Corps command. We were first with RCT 6, I think, and then another RCT as well, Regimental Combat Team.
Okay.
And essentially, the guys I was with, we got sliced off directly to RCT 6's command. Like our CO, our captain, answered directly to RCT 6, which is their colonel. And we basically got turned into a, for lack of a better words, mobile hotspot removal.
Mobile hotspot removal.
Yeah. We would get sent to shitty places and make that shit quiet down. So basically during that deployment, I was doing a lot of, at the time, I just graduated sniper school prior to that deployment.
Yeah.
And was on a team. And we would be outside the wire for like 2 weeks at a time.
No shit.
And then come back in for 2 weeks at a time and go out for 2 weeks at a time.
Okay.
There were 3 teams doing this. And basically we were spread out enough to where there was always at least 2 teams in the field.
Yeah, fluctuating.
And our standing orders were to interdict and stop IED emplacement.
Okay. You can relate to that definitely at that point.
Yeah, that one had a special place in my heart.
Sure.
But essentially it didn't matter. We'd be in an area for a few months, and then lo and behold, another bad spot would happen. And this was during the time, this was 2006 into 2007 during what's referred to as the Anbar Awakening.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty shitty time. But like I said, it's one of the deployments I look back on the most because of the friends I made on that deployment. One gentleman in particular, a Staff Sergeant Ethan Goodman, if you hear me. Now, everybody who is of the Hebrew faith, understand I say this with all the love in my tiny little heathen heart. You fucking Jew, I love you. He and I took it upon ourselves to lighten the mood on the deployment by saying some horrible shit to each other. And we had a conversation prior to that. We both understood that none of this was personal. All of this was to essentially get motherfuckers to laugh.
Gotcha.
And try to get the fuckery to go away so hard.
Yeah.
Because we had a shitty deployment. We had I refuse to utter this man's name. We'll call him Captain Z.
Mm-hmm.
And he was what I lovingly refer to as a metal hunting glory hound fuck.
Okay.
And had a whiteboard in his room that literally had the title on it that said, "Cool shit I've seen in the movies that I want to do."
Really?
For those of you in the military and officers, you can probably look up this deployment and find that gentleman's name. He is a discredit to every Army officer, past, present, and future. I despise that this gentleman breathes.
Damn, bro.
I don't hate a lot of people. I really don't. I really don't hate a lot of people, but that motherfucker has a special place of hatred in my fucking heart. But Ethan and I Sergeant Goodman decided that we were going to try and make everybody laugh, try and get everybody to kind of pick back up.
Not to think about the bad shit.
Yeah. So he and I had a conversation, and we decided that, and if you've never met people in combat arms, we have some seriously dark, fucked up sense of humor. Like, if some of you civilians heard the shit we said while we were on deployment, we'd get locked up.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's not a fucking joke. There would be white jackets that make you hug yourself for everybody. But
I'm sure the dog turned a lot of people off. They're not listening no more. So
probably not.
Everybody with a dark sense of humor is still here.
Yeah. But so we would say horrible, fucked up shit to each other that on a level, looking back at it, I go, yeah, that probably shouldn't have been said, but it made motherfuckers laugh. So fuck it, whatever.
Like what?
So my dad's family is of German descent.
Yeah.
And Sergeant Goodman is Russian Jew, whose grandfather or great grandfather used to work for the Chicago mob as a bookie.
Ah, gotcha.
And so there were no limits. We didn't talk about each other's kids. We didn't talk about each other's wives. We didn't talk about each other's family.
Yeah.
But there were no limits to this shit we would fucking say.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
oh God, it was bad.
I'm sure you were a bunch of Nazis.
Oh God, I was recalled everything under the sun, because at this point in time, this was the deployment where I had a crisis of faith prior to the deployment.
Yeah.
And this was the deployment where essentially I found the path I currently walk.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, I'm a dirty heathen, much like Clyde.
Yeah, definitely like.
And so the jokes were aplenty on that front, and on the fact that my family was German and my mom's family's Scottish.
Yeah.
So there were wonderful references made to both sides, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah. Dark sense of humor is great.
Oh, it's great. It's wonderful.
People that can take a joke and roll with it.
It lets you get a lot of shit out as long as everybody is cool with it and everybody's chill and nobody is getting offended by it. And everybody understands that this is literally, you have to understand, this was a horrible fucking deployment. Dudes were getting taken out left and fucking right. We lost a lot of fucking guys that deployment. We had a shitty situation.
Most people's heard of the Anbar province because of
and
that.
it was not pleasant. And he and I did that to try to help as much as we could to get motherfuckers to laugh, to just laugh.
Yeah.
And if it was at our expense, we didn't give a fuck.
So you were deployed 2 weeks at a time out of the
I was outside. We stayed on fire bases, and for 2 weeks at a time, I would be what's called outside the wire or in the bush.
Yeah.
I was outside the fire base.
So no shower, no food recovery.
No shower, living off MREs,
Yeah.
fucking.
Did y'all get any food from,
Oh, fuck yeah. We would buy food from the local market. Fuck yeah.
What's some of the crazy shit you ate?
So they in Iraq, I won't speak for the entire Middle East. In Iraq, they eat a lot of chicken.
Mm-hmm.
They eat a lot of fish, and they eat a lot of goat and sheep.
Yeah.
And I don't like fish, so I never ate fish. I do not like fish. I will try it at least once if it's some way I've never had it before.
Nah, you're flat.
I just don't like fish. But that was kind of the first time I'd had goat, and that was fucking delicious.
Yeah, goat's
so shawarmas, kebabs, the street vendors would literally make these giant cones of sliced goat, and it would be marinated and everything, and it would rotate in front of a burner, and you would go up and you would get a kebab.
Yeah.
And they'd slice the meat
straight
off of the cone onto naan bread, which is the kind of bread they make over there, and it'd have like lettuce and a kind of sauce on it that's kind of similar to tzatziki sauce.
Mm-hmm.
And it was absolutely fucking delicious.
Okay.
Wonderful. To this day, I absolutely love Middle Eastern food and Mediterranean food. It is one of my favorite, next to traditional actual Mexican street food. It is one of my favorite types of food.
Was it spicy?
Yes. Thankfully, I'm one of those few people that are immune to capsaicin.
Yeah.
So no, it wasn't spicy, but at the same time, yes, it was spicy because I could tell.
Yeah. Lit you up. So spent a year there.
Spent 15 months there, came back. We were back for a year, still in Fort Stewart.
How old are you at this time? 24?
I turned 21 on my first deployment in Baghdad.
Oh, in Baghdad.
In Baghdad.
So Korea don't count as a deployment?
Not as a combat deployment.
Okay.
It's a non-combat deployment.
I got
you. So that was my first deployment I turned 21 in Baghdad.
So this will be 23.
Yeah, so I was 23, 24.
Yeah.
We were back in the States for a year, and then I did another deployment with 3rd ID.
Where? Back to Iraq?
Back to Iraq, yeah. Okay. 4 deployments were to Iraq.
Okay.
And they were literally one after another after another.
At the same place? Or they were...
No.
Because the first was in Baghdad.
First I was in Baghdad. Then I went to the Anbar.
Yeah.
And then we were southwest of Baghdad. In what's referred to as the Dora province.
Okay.
And from there, we kind of got moved up to Baghdad towards the end of the deployment.
Mm-hmm.
And then this was during my third deployment was during when the drawdown started in Iraq.
Yeah.
And we were, at that time, we were closing a lot of fire bases. It was guys who were actually out doing patrols were parts of what were called strike teams.
Okay.
They essentially worked with the Iraqi federal police and were essentially serving warrants on high-risk individual. That was an interesting deployment. Met a gentleman named Sergeant Mohammed. He was an Iraqi federal police officer. And this motherfucker, when I tell you he was what I would refer to as bigger than life, he was probably about 6'1", and this dude lived in the gym.
Okay.
Monster of a man. Giant fucking teddy bear unless you pissed him off. Absolutely cool dude. Biggest laugh in the world. Always just wanted to joke, have a good time, unless he was at work. And when he was at work, fucking stone face.
Yeah.
But this we were on the deployment. That was the deployment. I fell off of a house chasing an asshole.
Across the roof?
Yeah, we were jumping from roof to roof, essentially.
Like,
because in the Mahalas, in the neighborhoods there, the houses are really only like 2 or 3 feet apart, if that. So we're chasing this fucking asshole roof to roof to roof, and we had been jumping 2 to 3 feet, 2 to 3 feet, 2 to 3 feet. So you're just jumping, trying to keep an eye on this motherfucker. And I had forgotten, I fucked up, forgot to check down to see the leap that I was about to make, made the leap, and it wasn't 2 to 3 feet. It was like 6.
Ooh.
And so my foot, essentially, my lead foot hit the edge of the wall and slid down.
Ooh.
And my ass could not catch the lip to hold on. So I fell, landed on my shoulder, and fucked my shoulder up.
Yeah.
Damn near had to have surgery on it. Damn near thought I was about to get kicked out of the army.
Did somebody catch him?
Oh, yeah, we caught him. Because at the end of the Mahala was essentially a 2-lane highway with a median. So we were essentially up there trying to make sure the motherfucker didn't double back. We were pushing his ass
to the median,
to the end. So essentially he had nowhere to fucking go but in a truck. And I fell, shoved my arm into my pistol belt and my war belt, and started running down the fucking street.
Mm-hmm.
And got down to the end, and I see Sergeant Mohammed, picking this motherfucker up by his belt and the collar of his shirt. And I am hot. I am mad. I've got a dislocated shoulder, and I just ran like 7 blocks. I was not thinking, and I will admit that. Ran right up to the dude full tilt and just fucking straight fucking soccer kicked that motherfucker in his sternum.
Yeah.
Not a proud moment, but my anger has gotten the best of me many times, so it is what it is. And Doc comes over, and Doc was an interesting man. He was half Jamaican, half Haitian.
Okay.
And grew up in Queens.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. Big dude. And he was, if you've never met a military medic, those dudes are battlefield angels, and I have seen this motherfucker walk through hellfire to get a man and bring him home. It's not your mama's name you call when you're fucked up in a war zone. It's Doc's.
Yeah.
And that's to no insult to a mother. But this dude comes running up. He comes out. He's like, what the fuck, Sarge? What the fuck you doing? I'm like, told him what happened, and he goes, all right, well, let me check your shoulder. So I slid my arm out of my belt, and I'm sitting there, and he's checking. He goes, yeah, Sarge, you dislocated that motherfucker. We gonna fix it, all right? All right, Doc. I can go ahead. He goes, he grabs my wrist. He's like, okay, on 3, I'm going to put your shoulder back, click, and just puts the bitch back in.
Yeah.
And I understand why he did that, because the closer you get to 3 without you controlling it, the tighter your shoulder muscles are going to get. So the motherfucker didn't even finish explaining what he was going to do. He just slipped my shoulder back in socket.
How's that mead?
It's nice. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I've never had the black cherry mead.
That's the black cherry.
It's rather interesting.
Yeah. It's pretty strong too.
It's got a little bit of twang.
Yeah.
But it's got enough sweetness to offset that. Yeah. So it's really nice.
I mean, it's a cherry. It's supposed to have a twang.
Yeah, it's a cherry. It's got to have a twang.
So he reset your shoulder.
Yeah, doc reset my shoulder.
Went to the hospital.
Yeah, and then, well, I didn't go to the hospital. Went back to the fire base that we were sharing with the federal police.
Okay.
And got checked out again by our PA, our actual doctor. And he checks me out. He's like, yeah, you fucked your shit up. You're not going to be able to do anything else this deployment. Just, it is what it is. You're sidelined. You're benched. Mm-hmm. So finished that deployment, essentially trying to help any way I could. When we closed down our fire base, the first things to get taken away was our fucking cooks. So they took their fucking cooking trailer with them. They didn't take the food, but they took that motherfucking kitchen.
So what you were gonna do?
Essentially, I got approached by first sergeant and my platoon sergeant, and was essentially told, "Hey Smith, you're from Texas. You know how to use a grill. Figure it the fuck out."
Yeah.
Because you can't really do anything else. So clearly, at that point, as a Texan, having my card checked at that point,
that was
I had no choice but to blow their fucking minds.
So where'd you get a grill?
We had built a grill. Someone had built a grill out of 8-aught blocks and rebar.
Yeah.
And it had a fire pit underneath it, and it had a little bit of a lip on top. Well, I found a piece of fucking sheet metal and put that bitch on top, and to completely blow their fucking minds, I made lasagna on a fucking grill.
Lasagna?
Yes. Like the frozen TV dinner lasagnas. That's what you get in the Army when you get lasagna. It's frozen TV lasagna. It's the shit you get at Brookshire's.
Yeah.
But
you cooked it on a grill.
Fuck yeah, I cooked that bitch on a fucking grill. I got a piece of sheet metal and covered the top, and a smaller piece of sheet metal and
made an oven.
The top of it to basically make hooks.
Yeah.
And then propped it up with fucking metal poles.
And it all come out creamy.
And it came out not bad.
No shit.
There was slight burn on the bottom. I mean, I'm cooking over a fucking fire, so fuck off.
So that was, you were the cook after that?
Yeah, I was essentially the cook for the company after that.
And it was all basically MRI food. It wasn't nothing fresh.
No, it was, we would try and get stuff from the local market fresh when we could, but it was essentially Army chow that was there, and I would refuse to cook that shit the way the Army cooks are made. They don't choose to cook this way. They're made to cook this way. I utterly refuse to ever fucking cook boil in a bag.
How long were you doing that?
Probably the last 4 months of the deployment.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
It's not cooking.
It was fun though. It made me appreciate the entire food service industry at that point. And it made me decide that I would never fucking do that as a job, because fuck that.
So you come back, and you get your shoulder checked out at that point?
Yeah, I got my shoulder checked out. They basically they gave me a certain amount of time to heal up, everything like that. And then at the end of the heal up, I decided, well, I'm going to regret it if I don't try. So I volunteered to go to selection.
Okay, what's selection?
Selection is a process that refers to the pipeline. Essentially, it's a series and sets of schools and tryouts, for lack of a better word, to where you, at the end of said pipeline, if you get selected, you become a Green Beret.
Okay.
They will never tell you what they're looking for. They're not looking for a candidate. They're not looking for a specific candidate. They're looking for the right candidate.
Okay.
You never know what the fuck that is.
Yeah.
It is a great big mystery to this day. No one fucking knows. The only people who know are the people at the schoolhouse.
Yeah.
And to this day, no fucking clue, because I was in with some guys that I would have swore hands down deserved that title over me.
Yeah.
Somehow I got selected.
Okay. So at this point, you're a Green Beret?
At that point, yes, I finished up my career as a Green Beret.
Okay. Did you get
Not a
deployed?
very long career as a Green Beret, very short. Because I did about 14 years in the military.
Yeah.
And at the end of that 9 years was when I went to selection.
Okay.
And so I literally finished out my career doing that.
Yeah.
And
So last 3 years.
last 3 years, essentially, yeah.
So what's some of the things in that selection process?
You
Jumping out
go
of
to,
airplanes?
yeah, I mean, if you're not already airborne certified, you go to airborne school. You go to SEER school, which is essentially POW school, teaches you how to deal with all of that. Learned at that point, I don't like cages.
You don't like what?
Cages at all.
Oh.
Like,
so they put you in a hole.
not a fan of cages. No, it was a fucking giant dog kennel.
Oh.
And did not like that, did not enjoy that. Found out real quick I switch off real fast my humanity and turn into an absolute fucking animal.
You're in a cage.
Don't like them at all.
Yeah. And then you went from the cage to jumped out of airplanes.
Yeah.
More sniper school training?
Yes, you go through more of that if you have an advanced school like that.
Mm-hmm.
You will go through more schooling like that if the job you wind up getting in special operations deals with that.
Yeah.
You can wind up wanting to go in. You can wind up going in to be a wanting to be a weapons sergeant, but they decide, oh no, motherfucker, you're too smart for that. You're going to go be a medic.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. Because I had a buddy of mine who went in well before I did, and he was a staff sergeant when he went in. Extremely intelligent. I'm talking like mid triple digits IQ. Already could speak multiple languages.
Okay.
And guy was extremely intelligent. And he wanted to go in to be a weapons sergeant because he was already in 11 Bravo.
Okay.
And he went, got picked up, and got told his ass was going to go to be a medic. And he didn't know what to do with that. And they basically explained to him, you're the type of person that needs to be a medic in special operations. So that's where you're going.
Because he was that smart.
Because he was that intelligent. Yes.
Yeah.
And
what they decided for you to do?
I was a weapons sergeant.
Yeah.
And that was for someone who has always been interested in firearms his entire life. Wonderful job.
You get to play with everything.
You get to play with everything. You learn how to build them. You learn how to operate them. You learn how to shoot them. I've shot everything from AKs, M4s, Carl Gustavs, fucking artillery pieces, to weapons that up until that point I had never fucking heard of.
Like from different countries?
Like from different countries,
yeah.
And it was that 3 years was probably what I look back at in my career was probably what I would say was the high point of my career.
Yeah.
Because I had somehow it attained that level.
Mm-hmm.
And that had been a goal. My initial goal in the Army was to retire, do my 20 and retire. But I wanted to make E7. I wanted to be an E7.
Yeah. And what were you at that point?
I retired as a staff sergeant, which is an E6. Didn't make E7. But I got to do some really awesome ass shit in my career that, honestly, looking back at it, I wouldn't change a goddamn thing.
Yeah.
I would have probably done some things differently, yes. I would have probably went for selection sooner.
Yeah.
But knowing what I know now, I would have gone sooner. But honestly, I look back at my 13 years, 6 months, and 28 days in. Sounds like a prison sentence. But I look back at that, and I don't want anybody to misunderstand this. I don't miss the military.
Okay.
I miss my friends.
Yeah.
I miss the cool ass shit I got to do in training.
That camaraderie.
I miss that camaraderie, that brotherhood.
Yeah.
You find that in very few places outside of the military. You really do.
Yeah.
And it takes a special individual for a veteran to allow them that close.
Yeah.
Like as close as you and I are, brother. It took me a while to let you in that close.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I will say this, Clyde, my family is the biggest reason I am not part of the 22 a day.
Yeah.
They're the fucking reason I am not. And Clyde is a part of what I consider my family now. And there's not a damn thing in the world I won't do for Clyde, Sarah, your kids. I give no fucks. But me, I will always consider myself lucky.
Yeah.
I had a massive, massive support network to come home to.
You did.
Because I had a huge fucking family. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Smith family somehow in Van, Texas, because there's a fuck ton of us.
There is a bunch of y'all.
It's huge. There's I want to say upwards to over 100 and something people in my family in this area.
Yeah.
And when I came home under some shitty circumstances.
Okay.
I did not choose to retire. I got retired at 14 years.
Which is never a good thing.
I got medically retired for psychiatric reasons.
Yeah.
And I was broken. I was fucked up when I got
14
here.
years of that shit.
I basically was told on my way out that I could never do what I did for a living again. That police departments wouldn't hire me, federal agencies wouldn't hire me, private military companies wouldn't hire me, and the ones that would hire me were sketchy as shit, would probably leave my ass, whatever fucking shithole I wound up in.
Yeah.
So I was essentially,
broken.
The fuck do I do?
Yeah.
What the fuck do I do now? Like so many other veterans, I was just at that point of the fuck. I was 34 years old, had just left my second wife at the time, in the process of getting a divorce. And I was 34 years old sleeping on my parents' couch.
Yeah.
That fucks with your head. I don't give a fuck who you are.
Traveling the world, seeing everything, doing all this crazy shit. I went
from here to being a 34-year-old living on my mom and dad's couch. That fucked me up hard.
Yeah.
And it was that first year I was back was a straight nosedive. I lost it. I fucking slid way down the rabbit hole.
But that support network
is literally the reason I am still fucking breathing today.
Yeah.
And I know not a lot of vets have that. I understand that, which is why when I always meet another vet, I always let them know. I hand them my card and I fucking write my number on the back of it. I'm like, look, dude, I don't give a fuck who you are, where you're from, what your motherfucking rank was. I gives no fucks.
Yeah.
You're a vet. You fucking need something. I don't give a fuck what time of goddamn day it is. My ass will always be a motherfucking staff sergeant. And if one of my vets calls me, end of fucking story.
Yep.
Don't give a fuck. I will fucking deal with that situation immediately.
You stay in contact
with what it is.
Do you stay in contact with all those guys?
Off and on.
Yeah.
Some of them I can, some of them I can't. Because they're still out, kicking indoors and fucking canoeing motherfuckers' heads for Uncle Sam. So I can't really talk to them all the time. But I try to stay in touch with a lot of them. But it's just the nature of the beast. We drift apart.
Yeah.
We do. We drift apart because we go out. We try to find other things that we do in our lives
and you've
to give purpose and meaning.
And you've actually been doing good at that. I mean,
surprisingly, yes.
Yeah. I mean, everybody don't get to run around a Kilton, Van, Texas, and Canton, and East Texas. Except for me. I mean, I get to, but you as well.
I mean, look at me. Not a lot of people are going to come up and say some shit to my ass. I don't exactly look like a friendly person.
No.
Don't get me wrong. I'm genuinely a nice guy.
You're a big teddy bear, bro.
I'm a giant fucking teddy bear.
Yeah.
That's got 6-inch fucking razor claws and a fucking maw. No, I've had people tell me a lot in my life that I'm just naturally an intimidating person. Yeah. I don't understand it. I don't see it. I see big, dumb, goofy nerd.
Yeah.
I don't see
That-
this intimidating, scary people that motherfuckers talk about.
That's because you're a D&D dungeon master and you think all D&D dungeon masters are supposed to be a big nerd.
Yes.
But you're a big nerd that's traveled the world and fucking did crazy shit.
Yes. And for those of y'all who don't understand, inside of the military, there are more motherfuckers that are at a level of special operations, rangers and up. There are more motherfuckers in there that play D&D. You just don't understand.
Hold on. So you're talking about staff sergeant level and above. Y'all are all sitting back before and after.
On fucking deployment,
talking
playing
about,
fucking Dungeons and Dragons.
about,
Yes.
Well, I'm a third level hobbit with.
Yes. Yes. No, the chief I worked for was our DM.
Yeah.
He was our dungeon master. And
were you a DM before you went in the military?
No.
So
I had never fucking played D&D before I got
so
into
you
the
learned
military.
D&D?
I learned D&D in the Army.
Okay, so
and Korean, my first duty station.
Hold on. So y'all that don't know what D&D is, we're talking about Dungeons and Dragons. The 80s when Dungeons and Dragons come out?
The Satanic Panic, the 80s. It came out in the 70s, but the 80s is what really made it famous.
So this is a bunch of books where you play a medieval character type deal, and you pick what. And I was explaining this to my kids today.
Yeah, you pick your race, you pick your class.
Yeah,
and essentially, it's
so you learned that in South Korea.
Yes, one of the NCOs that was in the Lurch company had been playing D&D since it came out.
Yeah,
and I had never heard of it. I mean, I had heard of it, but I had no concept of what D&D was.
Yeah,
I didn't have time for that bullshit when I was growing up because it was go to school, go to football, come home, do chores, work. I didn't have free time to do that shit or money.
D&D books are not cheap.
No, them books are fucking expensive.
So, what was your first character?
My first character, no shit, was a half-orc barbarian.
I knew it was going to. That was my first character, and I've only played twice.
I talked to the NCO that was introducing me to it. I told him I'd never played anything like this before and had no idea how any of it worked. And it seems interesting and it seems fun because I had actually sat down and watched them play a few sessions because we were all just hanging out.
Like reading a book.
Yeah, it's like it's literally like reading a book, but it's essentially a group story. You're telling a story. The DM's got the idea generally, but all the players essentially help you flesh it out.
Yeah, they're just throwing shit out there.
Oh, dude, it's some weird shit. Craziness. But so the NCO that introduced me to it, he told me, he's like, look, the easiest thing for you to play, if you've never played it before in your life, I'll help you make the character. I'll explain everything. I'll walk you through it. And what we're going to do is we're going to make you a half-orc barbarian. I'm like, what is that? He goes, you're going to basically be big, scary, and hit shit with an axe. Okay, I can do that. I can do that. That's not hard. I can do that. I can figure that out.
I can do that one.
I can do that. My immediate next character after that, though, was a halfling rogue. So I went from this to this.
Yeah. Man, that's crazy. South Korea. So
yes, I learned how to play D&D in South Korea.
So when did you first become a DM?
I didn't really start DMing until I got back here.
Okay.
I had walked away from D&D for a while.
Yeah.
Because my home life was not very good with my ex. And I just walked away from it because it was causing a lot of tension. And I was just like, fuck it. Whatever. I'll give this up because it'll make her happy and maybe shit'll get better.
Because women don't.
Which people in general don't work that way.
No.
There's just something else that's going to make another person upset at you. That's just how it is. If they're not happy, you're not going to be happy. It doesn't matter if you're married to a woman or you're married to a man. If the other person in your relationship is not fucking happy, you're not fucking going to be happy.
Yep.
It is going to be fucking horrible.
Oh, yeah.
And
so you gave D&D up.
Yeah, but I gave D&D up, got back here, and had been back maybe a year and a half. And a buddy of mine got a hold of me, and he's checking on me, asking me how I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm fucking tired. I don't give a fuck no more about nothing. I go to work. I come home. At the time, I was working for my uncle.
Yeah.
I was cleaning up construction sites and hauling stuff, and he was starting to show me how to do simple electrical shit.
Yeah.
You
and electrical don't get along.
It's not that I don't get along with electrical like outlets and shit.
Yeah.
I don't get along with technology, i.e. computers.
I'm surprised this is still on right now with your history.
Yes, honestly, the fact that this is working and I am this close to it,
I know.
total surprise. But I'd probably been back about a year and a half. Had just moved into that house down the street from you.
Yeah.
And a buddy of mine calls me. He's talking to me. He's like, so he's like, I understand you walked away from D&D to make X happy.
Mm-hmm.
Have you gotten back into it? I'm like, motherfucker, I'm in the middle of fucking East Texas in a tiny ass little town. Ain't nobody play D&D here.
Yeah.
Nobody plays D&D here. I'd have to go to Tyler to find a fucking game shop and everything like that. He goes, okay, well, he goes, I understand your technologically retarded ass has trouble with computers, but go on YouTube and look up a channel called Geek and Sundry. There is a show on there, and some of people who are watching right now may know this show. It's called Critical Role.
Okay.
It's now in the nerd community it's extremely popular.
Okay.
You've seen it on Amazon Prime. They've got an animated movie out now for it on Amazon Prime. It's really fucking cool. But I started watching them.
Okay.
And not every D&D game is going to be like this. It's just not. There are a bunch of professional voice actors who have been nerds their entire fucking life. The DM has been playing Dungeons and Dragons since day one. And they were all friends before they started this. They were all very close friends. And their home game started essentially as a birthday present for one of their friends who had never played before. And so they were doing the campaign, and somehow the DM's girlfriend at the time, was working as a creative director on the channel Geek and Sundry. And she was talking about their game and the shenanigans they got up to. And so after several long conversations, they wound up doing YouTube. But they were halfway through their campaign. So the first time you watch their first campaign, they're literally halfway through their story.
Oh, okay. Got you.
But I started watching it.
Yeah.
And I got fucking hooked. Like, just yanked right the fuck
This is on Amazon?
The animated series is on Amazon.
But the
actual game, them actual playing, is on YouTube. They have their own channel now.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, it's Critical Role. It's their own channel. Okay. They play the version 5E, which is the 5th edition. And I enjoy watching them because there's a lot of people say, oh, well, it's scripted. They're all actors. I don't give a fuck if it's scripted and they're all actors.
Yeah.
They're entertaining as fuck, and they get up to some fucking shenanigans. And it is absolutely entertaining to me. To me, it is extremely entertaining.
What's some of the shenanigans they get up to?
You'll have motherfuckers like their first campaign. There is a guy playing a character who had a very long name that I will not try and quote, but his name was Percy.
Okay.
And he was supposed to be the last surviving member of a royal family, such and such, whatever. But he was a gunslinger, essentially.
Okay.
He basically, in their world, was the guy who invented firearms.
I got you.
And he had this gun called Bad News. And it broke down to a 50 caliber fucking musket.
Single shot, you had to fill it full?
Single shot, had to put black powder in, but he also had what was called a pepper box, which is a multi-barrel black powder pistol. And just the gentleman that played that character, he's a voice actor called Taliesin Jaffe. This guy pulled off that posh British nobility,
because you got to play in character,
vibe so well. And they had that person, and they had one guy who's actually from Dallas. Yeah. His name's Travis Willingham. And much like myself, he's a giant nerd. Dude stands like fucking 6'3", 6'4", looks like a jock, has been a jock, but also was a nerd and played video games and went to theater school.
Oh, okay.
And is a professional voice actor. Went to Hollywood to be an actor, but got told he's 6'4" and he'll never, ever, ever be allowed around any major stars because, well, he's 6'4".
He's taller than all of them.
Yeah. So
by Tom Cruise.
Yeah. So he wound up being a voice actor, but it was his first time playing. So the DM did the same thing that my original DM did for me and made him a barbarian. Yeah. He's a Goliath, like a half giant. but he's just this big raging monster with like absolutely no fucking intelligence, can't fucking read, but just gets ragingly drunk and smashes shit in the face with a giant axe. Absolutely wonderful.
I gotta check this out. What's the name of it again?
Critical Role.
Critical Role.
Yeah. The one on Amazon Prime is Critical Role: The Legends of Vox Machina.
Okay.
And they had a bard on there that was a gnome bard. So essentially it's a bard just like in stories, plays songs, sings music, shit like that. The guy who plays him did so well at being that quintessential horn dog musician that was in and of itself comic relief and an amazing fucking.
So they're playing in character.
Yeah,
right?
They're playing like on YouTube. When you see them, when you watch their sessions, they're sitting at a table playing D&D.
But I mean, they're
like when they're doing the role playing stuff.
Yeah,
they're actually in character. They're all voice actors, so they use voices. You don't have to use voices.
So how much of that is in your game? How many times do you have to tell the people, hey, that's not how he would say that?
No. I don't. When people play with me, I don't expect people to use voices.
Okay.
If you want to, because that's something you want to do to help me differentiate between when you're in character and when you're just fucking off.
Yeah.
I appreciate shit like that, but I will never ask you to do that.
What's some of the craziest in character things that you've had?
So my sister plays with us. And yes, Gentry. And it was the first time she'd ever played D&D.
Okay.
She'd heard me talking about it. She wanted to play, so I invited her over for one of our sessions. She sat in, decided it was something she wanted to do. I helped her make a character, and the next time we played, the next weekend, she was there and played. So her first character was what's called a water genasi. It's like a water elemental genie thing. And there's a spell in D&D called Create and Destroy Water.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure there are some DMs and rule lawyers, once I explain this, that are going to have a fucking aneurysm, but I really don't give a fuck. So in this spell in the game, you can create or destroy water in a 5 foot by 5 foot area.
Okay.
All water.
Humans are made of
humanoid creatures, especially fish people, are made of over 70% water.
Yeah.
Create or destroy water. Instant jerky. She asked me if she could do it. And I'd never, in the years I'd been playing D&D, had never had anybody do that. And I'm like, fuck it, do it. Because I don't give a fuck about the rules.
Yeah.
I don't care. This is a home game. It is myself and some friends and family, and we're just hanging out, having a good time, and it's a way for us to not be adults in this fucked up world we have for a few hours to just blow off some steam. So I give a fuck about rules. If it's cool and you can explain to me why it's okay to do this, I'm down.
How long has your game been going on?
Right now we've been playing for I've been back for 6 years almost. So I'd say we've been playing for almost 3.5 years, maybe.
Oh no shit! How far in your campaign in your head?
We've had to restart several times because we've had some people move off, and they were the center portion of the character. There was several times where we've had to stop playing for several months. And before anybody asked, yes, we did play through COVID, and yes, it was at my house. Eat a dick.
But is that a thing? Like people are out there not playing D&D because of COVID?
Well, yeah, people were not playing their home games because of COVID. And I'm not going to say anybody's right or wrong on that side of the line. Yeah. You do you, and whatever you feel comfortable with is you. You do you, boo-boo. I don't care.
Yeah, Van wasn't locked down, really.
But me personally and everybody that I was in the group with, we didn't give a fuck. We grew up in the 80s eating fucking dirt and probably some lead paint, so we were good. Yeah, and I had fallen in the Tigris and the Euphrates enough time that I'm pretty sure the fucking cure to cancer's floating around in me. So
you rolled the dice as if it was okay to play.
Yeah, so we essentially, she did that spell and it worked, and homeboy became jerky. And ever since from that instant on, I have decided that I will never try to run another structured campaign in my life. It will from then on be open sandbox. Whatever they want to do is whatever they want to do. I'll figure it out. I'll dangle plot hooks in front of them. If they go for it, they go for it. If not, whatever. We're having fun.
Yeah.
The people that I play with are, for the most part, highly intelligent.
Yeah.
And I mean, one of the gentlemen that I play with has been on here, Hobbs.
Yeah.
Highly intelligent. So is his partner. And his partner, Ken, is extremely intelligent. Alan, you haven't gotten to meet Alan, but Alan he lives up in Alba Golden.
Okay.
To look at this man and to hear him initially talk, he sounds like the most backwoods ass motherfucker in the world. But if you actually get past the accent and listen to the shit he's saying, he's extremely self-educated.
What's his
extremely intelligent. The last character he played, I won't talk about his last character. I will talk about the character before that because it's more interesting.
Okay.
I'll talk about them both because it's quick enough. So he had Major Dan.
Oh,
it was Major Dan was a marching band major, and was a bard.
Okay.
And so we had created a special item for him that was essentially the marching drum major
twirler
staff they use with the big ball on the top of it, their scepter.
Yeah.
We made that his special little item, and essentially he could do a whole bunch of shit with it. And at the end of playing that little set of scenarios for that character, he had several unique abilities with that to where he could push a button and say, for instance, the Macarena would come on. And all players who heard it had to make essentially a willpower saving throw to not be forced to dance the Macarena.
Macarena.
Yeah, Macarena, no. And he had the songs for those individual spells on his phone. So he would play them while shit was going down.
That's wonderful. That sounds fun.
It was great. It's fun. His last character was a gnome. He plays characters that are very, 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 very eccentric, very flamboyant.
Oh yeah.
And he is the straightest dude I know. And he plays like the most outlandishly flamboyant characters because personally he doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
He does not care.
Yeah, he's there to have fun.
He's there to have fun. He could give two shits what people think about him because of his D&D character. So he was playing a rogue gnome, and their backstory was that he was a prostitute, a sex slave, if you will. And
D&D can get dark.
Oh yeah, it depends on the group, but it can get real fucking dark, real fucking fast. But it was hilarious. He essentially wore pants that were essentially akin to sausage casings.
So very tough.
Oh, it's great. Oh no, this is the dude you want in your game because this is the dude that you'll be running the most seriously dark, gothic, evil, hellscape vampire game ever. And Homeboy is going to come in with a character that is a representative of fucking My Little Pony. And it is going to be fucking awesome.
That's crazy.
You're going to start out wanting to run fucking this super dark fucking evil campaign. And this one guy is going to take it from that and turn it into Monty Python and the Holy Grail. And it's going to be fucking fabulous.
That sounds cool. So you made it home and you've been home 6 years.
Yeah, I've been home 6 years.
That's great, bro.
And have met a lot of wonderful
did a lot. People. When I first met you, you were going on a trip.
I was originally going to go nomad for a while and go to all the national parks in the U.S. Yeah. Essentially, I'd gotten an RV, was in the process of fixing it up.
Yep.
Just a little pull behind RV. Was in the process of fixing it up. And fate is fate, and I was not destined to do that because I met someone who is now extremely important to me.
Is that what we call it?
Is that what we call it? Yes, for those of you who can't read between the fucking lines, I met a girl.
Yeah.
Because I didn't learn the first 2 times.
You didn't learn the first 2 times.
But no, I met her, and it was originally, I met her through a lady that I knew working at Lowe's.
Yeah.
I worked out in the outside lumberyard. And I was the big idiot that would pick shit up and put it in your car for you. But she was a wonderful lady. She was like the work mom.
Yeah.
And she told me one day she's like, Justin, if you weren't so against relationships or having another relationship, I'd introduce you to a friend of mine. And I told her, I was like, it's not that I'm against having another relationship. I am against ever being legally bound to somebody the fuck else by the government. That will never fucking happen to me again. I don't care.
Yeah. Legally bound by the gods.
Legally bound by the government.
Yeah.
Legally bound by the gods is different.
Yeah, definitely.
But so I told her, I was like, okay, fine. Look, you're friends with me on Facebook. Figure it out.
Yeah.
You talk to her. You figure it out. If she decides to meet my fucking scary looking ass, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So unbeknownst to me, this was a young lady that I knew from junior high and apparently had dated.
Oh, no kidding. I didn't know that.
Yes. Of all the shit I have forgotten pre-first deployment, never forgot this woman.
Oh, no kidding.
Never. Always remembered her.
Yeah.
And the lady at Lowe's reached out to me one weekend. I was off and was like, hey, what's your middle name? All right, look, you know I'm a pagan and you know I know what the Fae is. No, you're not going to secretly build my fucking whole name. What do you want? And she goes, Justin, the person I want to introduce you to thinks they know who you are. And I'm like, okay, well, if she knows who I am, she knows that when I was in school, everybody called me JD. Just the letter J, the letter D, JD. Yeah. And she goes, okay. About 5 minutes later, she texts me back. She goes, she knows who you are. She remembers you.
Oh, yeah?
I'm like, this is like 20 years later. Nobody remember my ass from 20 years later. But she's like, no, apparently y'all dated in high school. And she said her name. And I'm like, no, that's not her name. That's not her name. Her name in school was something else.
Yeah.
Her name in school was Dawn. And I was like, that's her name, because that's what I knew her as. Yeah. That's not her name. This is her name. She goes, well, apparently that's her middle name. She was going by her middle name, blah, 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 blah. Get over it. And I go, okay, whatever. And she goes, so do you want to talk to her? I was like, yes. I haven't seen her in God knows forever. She's one of the few things I can remember pre-first deployment.
Yeah.
Before the initial scramble happened. And fuck yeah, I want to talk to her. I give a crap if we wind up dating. I want to talk to her.
Yeah.
And so she put us in touch with each other. She's like, can I give her your phone number? I was like, yes, give her my phone number. So she reaches out to me. She texts me. We talk, text on the phone, at work, back and forth. And finally, after about maybe a couple of months of text talking, she worked an obscene amount of hours at this time.
She still does.
She's gone down to half-day schedules and still works almost full 40 hours a week. This woman used to work, for those of you out there, this woman used to work damn near oil field hours, pulling 100 hours a week.
Yeah.
At a job, not an oil field job, a job. And so we would talk when she had chances and everything like that. And the only time we were ever going to have a chance to actually sit down and have a conversation is it was going to have to be at midnight or thereabouts, because that's when she would get off shift. And
Justin's checking something.
Sorry, sit rep from the boss lady.
You're good.
She was letting me know her dad was asleep. But anyways, yeah, she texted me.
No, she was texting you at midnight.
So we were, at this point in my life, motherfucker, I barely slept like 4 hours. So sure. I was just used to that. I spent 14 years of essentially sleep deprivation. So I could function for like a week off like fucking 3 hours of sleep.
Nope.
It's just how it was. It is what it is. But so we're texting and everything like that. And we come to the conclusion, we talked and was like, we wanted to actually sit down and meet, but not like have a date, just sit down and meet.
Oh yeah.
And the only thing that was going to be open when she would have time and be coming past Van to where we could actually meet was Carl's Jr.'s.
Yeah.
So we agreed the next time she got off work, we'd meet at Carl's Jr.'s. And so she texted me. She's like, hey, I just got off work. I'm on my way. I'll be there at this time. And I was at the house here in Van. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm like, fuck, 5 minutes from there. I'll wait for her to text me and let me know she's there. So I got up, got a shower, got dressed, and waited.
Yeah.
And very long 20 minutes. She texted me. She's like, hey, I'm here. I'm like, okay, I'm headed up there now. She's like, you're just now leaving? I was like, I live like 3 minutes away. I'm good. Yeah. So got up there, and unbeknownst to me, she had brought a friend. And because she needed to make sure everything was going to go okay. Because there was concern. Anyway, so she brought a friend with her. And so I walked in, and for those of you who don't know, this individual was prior military. She was a truck driver in the military. And her friend was also a vet.
Mm-hmm.
And her friend was in the Army pre 9/11, had gotten out, and after 9/11 went back in, and had loose affiliations with special operations and some other people, because he was on a base where there was just a lot of those motherfuckers.
Yeah, understand.
So
3 vets walking across.
Yeah. It is what it is. But anyway, so I walk in, and I instantly see her. I recognized her immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And she waves at me, and I'm like, and I pointed up at the counter. I was going to go get me something to drink because I was just trying to process shit in my fucking head. Yeah. Because I will out myself. I am not a ladies' man. I know I come across as this guy who can talk to fucking anybody, but I cannot talk to women.
You can in your kilt. You should have wore your kilt.
I can in my kilt, and at that time I didn't have. Wait, no, I had one, but it was at the cleaners.
Yeah.
So I didn't have my kilt. For those of you who are unaware, a kilt is like a magic fucking blanket. It instantly boosts your confidence and your charisma, Definitely. And you can fucking talk to anybody.
Definitely boosts your charisma.
But so I was trying to process in my head how to fucking handle this, how to talk to her, because I immediately wanted to jump in and be like, what the fuck do you remember about me? I can't remember fucking shit. Help me. Yeah. And I didn't want to come across as that weird, creepy guy right off the bat. So we sat there, had a conversation for a few hours, and after about 3 months of this back and forth, chit-chatty, meet when we could things, we decided we were going to start dating.
Yeah.
And that was almost 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was.
So, yeah, when I say the boss lady, it's in reference to this woman.
Yeah, y'all doing good.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all running a business together.
Yeah. She's part owner of the business we have with my mom and my little sister. Mm-hmm. And I haven't fucked it up yet. And that's the goal, is to not fuck it up.
And you're doing good on that.
I'm trying. I am fucking trying my damnedest, because I'll be honest, I did not have good relationships as an adult. So I am relearning how to actually have a good relationship. Yeah. And it is difficult, and this woman is very patient, very understanding, because she understands that I have a lot of fucked up shit behind me.
Yeah.
Not just military fucked up shit, but just personal fucked up shit behind me. And she understands that I'm essentially putting myself back together.
You're doing good, bro.
I'm trying.
You're definitely
I'm trying.
Good. So in this meantime, you were going to take this trip.
Yeah, I was going to nomad for a few years, see all the national parks, met her, decided that was not possible.
Started a business. That during
COVID, started a business.
That takes up most of your time.
It does. It takes up quite a lot of fucking time. I work harder now than when I was in the fucking Army.
Yeah. I mean, you do. So what's actually your business?
So the business is called Ancient Paths and Traditions.
Oh.
We are what I refer to as a pagan supply company.
No.
For those of you unfamiliar with the term, pagan is a umbrella term in reference to someone who believes in multiple gods and has a strong connection to nature, i.e., non-Abrahamic, essentially.
You build a lot of your stuff yourself.
Yes, we build a lot of our stuff in-house by hand. We have an apothecary that's up to 51 different items now. My sister does a lot of our spell products, from candles to jars to bath rituals. We have everything from luck spells to money spells to love spells to curses, to just straight up protection spells.
And you build a lot of the jewelry yourself.
Yes, Mom has taken over a lot of that.
Yeah.
And that is awesome because she is extremely talented and very artistic and does an amazing job. What I do a lot of is I deal with the apothecary. So I deal with all the plants, the herbs. I make the medicines and the soaps. Between myself and my sister, we make the soaps, the perfumes, the beard and hair oils. And we're fixing to start making liquid soap, like Castile soap.
Okay.
And so it could be a body wash, shampoo, everything like that. But we're also fixing to start making essentially a conditioner as well.
Okay. You might want to think about a beard conditioner, because I got some pretty good beard conditioner that I love that I wish somebody local would make it. Because
we can talk about that later. Because I mentioned that to you before that I would happily.
I'm not talking about I make it. Yeah. I'm talking about somebody local needs to make a good
beard no, yeah, that's definitely in the works because.
Yeah, I use my beard conditioner more than I do my anything else.
Like for me, up until this current situation we're in now, I used my beard oil every fucking day.
Yeah,
and that bitch was nice. It's still okay, but it's a little crinkly and scraggly, and it is very unmaintenance right now due to the scenario.
Yeah. So, as you're growing this business, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I gave up 6 months in trying to predict where we were going to be.
Yeah.
Because we had an initial plan. We had an initial plan. We were going to start it first Monday. And we thought it would maybe take us 4 or 5 years to get to the point where we needed something other than coffee tables to do this shit.
Yeah.
And that was proven immediately false in about 6 months. We had to get a bigger spot out at First Monday. We're now up to 4 spots instead of the 1 we started with. We have expanded our business quite rapidly. And we now are at the point where we have multiple repeat customers every month.
Yeah.
And it's for those of you who are a little curious about this, we sell witch shit. Just to kind of clear that, put that out in the air. If you come in and ask for a beef tongue, some iron nails, and some twine, I'm not going to ask why. Just give me about 30 minutes. It's cattle country. I'll get you a beef tongue.
It's witch shit.
But no, it's not just about that. It's our business idea going into this was to be in the open, not hide who we were, not hide what we were, be out there for everybody to see us and understand that we don't eat your children. We don't kidnap and eat your children. It doesn't happen. It's stories. It's okay.
Stories been used for years, though.
Yeah.
Definitely been used.
But no, we're there essentially as the way we tell people is we're there as a lighthouse or a bridge to the outer community. We're not here to convert people. That's not what pagans do. We don't convert people. We don't evangelicalize. We just don't. That's not how we process shit.
You mean to tell me people don't go door to door and ask to tell you about the Allfather?
I have yet to meet somebody who does that. It will be interesting.
Let me tell you about Odin.
Yes, let me tell you about our Lord and Savior Loki. No, we just don't evangelicalize. We're just there. And we help whoever the fuck comes in the tent.
Yeah.
We've had Christian ministers come in and get teas from us and medicine.
Yeah.
We've had people that are devout Catholics that meet us there every Sunday that we're out at First Monday and buy oils from us. They buy candles from us. We sell frankincense, myrrh, and Dead Sea salt and the Rose of Jericho. Mm-hmm. We don't give a shit what your faith is. If we have something you need or we can get you hard to find shit that you need, we will do it. We're a pagan supply company by nature, but I don't give a fuck what your religion is. guns.
Yeah.
I don't care. I never have, never will.
No.
It's that whole First Amendment thing.
No.
You know, it's everybody has the First Amendment or nobody has it.
You're right.
And if nobody has that bitch, that's what the second one's for.
Welcome
Trust
to
me,
Texas.
I may look like a fucking peace loving purple daisies hippie motherfucker, but I will fuck some shit up.
Yeah. Definitely. But I mean, welcome to Texas.
Yeah,
I mean,
welcome to Texas. The liberals here carry guns.
I don't know that everywhere or in the world is like that, but Texas
No, it's
is
not.
It's definitely like that.
But I was quite surprised. You know, I grew up here. Yes, we're the fucking buckle of the Bible Belt.
Yeah.
And no one will ever convince me otherwise. There's how many churches in this tiny little town?
Maybe
like six.
Yeah.
Not to diss any of the churches, but there's 6 of them in this tiny little town.
That's right.
And I thought we would have more problems.
I've never had problems.
And I have, since I started literally after being with you, I'd never wore a hammer up until then. I just never did. No. I never found one I liked. It was never the right time, essentially. So I never had a hammer. And after hanging out with you for a while, you noticed that I never wore one.
Yeah.
And you actually gave me my first hammer.
I did.
And I started wearing it around. And then a little bit later, my girlfriend and a friend of ours bought this one for me that I wear everywhere, every day. And I wear it outside of my shirt. It's there for the world to fucking see. I've got tattoos on my hands that are runes and alder staves and spell work, and I don't hide what I am. And I have not had a negative reaction to my face in this town. I haven't. And from what I hear back from other people, nobody says anything fucking bad.
No.
Because, yes, this is a tiny, small little town with tiny, small little town problems.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, everybody here is pretty much, hey, you do you. I'm going to be over here and I'm going to do me.
No.
And as long as you're not doing something like hurting kids or hurting other people, we're going to be cool.
Well, I mean, it's been a little different.
Well, don't get me wrong. There's gossip of fucking plenty around
There's
here.
gossip, but that's not what I'm talking about.
That's every small town.
There's been plenty of times where you've showed up where you've needed to show up. Remember when we found those that couple on 110, middle of the night?
Yeah, during the fucking
snow apocalypse.
Yeah, during Snowmageddon.
And there's times like that where you showed your true self as being a van person. Because that's something van people do. We look out after each other.
Well, it has been that way here for as long as I can remember. You may not agree with what somebody is doing.
That's right.
But you don't leave somebody walking down the fucking street.
You don't. And you help. I don't care. And that's the good thing about this town. I don't care what's going on, what anybody's doing. When it's time for people to show up and help, everybody shows up
and help.
Yeah. And you've done that repeatedly. And I feel like that people know. And
well,
you
so
get the benefit
for those of you who are unfamiliar with the specific faith that I and Clyde follow, we're both what are referred to as heathens.
Correct.
We follow the Norse pantheon specifically. In the heathen community is very much in that faith. It is very much about community. You support your community. You support your family.
That's right.
Your honor, for lack of a better words, is very heavily wrapped in how you treat your family and how you treat your community and what you are on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And that has always been very much instilled in me prior to that.
Yeah.
Now, I've been a hammer hanging heathen for like 14 years damn near. And prior to that, I grew up here.
Yeah.
Small ass little town. I went to a Methodist church out in Colfax with my mom's family.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what we were taught.
You just come home.
You just help your neighbors. That's just how it is. You see your fucking neighbors struggling, you fucking help. You don't point, you don't laugh, you don't fucking talk shit about them. You fucking help. Whether it's a shoulder for them to fucking lean on and vent and just get the shit out, or you're taking them fucking cooked meals because they're working their ass off and don't have time to cook for themselves.
That's happened a lot in Van.
So I've seen motherfuckers walk up to people's houses with fucking casserole dishes, knock on the door. Somebody opens the door with this weird look on their face, just hands them a casserole dish, says hi, walk the fuck away.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
Yeah.
You take care of your community.
Did you
And
see any
Van has
communities?
always been my community.
Did you see any communities when you were in Baghdad or in Korea that was like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not really in the bigger cities, but in the smaller villages,
Yeah.
it is very much like that because those are essentially extended families that live in those villages.
Yeah.
And so everybody is there is either related by marriage or blood, and the community does help each other there.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
very much like that.
That's why I agree with Van's trying to grow and growing in the right way, but it's holding on to what we have with that community has always been
Yes.
something we want.
As
to keep.
long as I agree, Van does need to grow. I'm happy that Van is growing.
Oh yeah.
I'm happy more things are coming into this town and more people. But as you've said, as long as we don't lose that small town community mentality,
Yep.
I think it'll be a great thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I've met people that didn't grow up here, didn't and just moved here recently, and that is one thing that they talk about. That this is it's odd for some people when they first experience it, that it is a very close knit small town.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody knows everybody. You fuck up in 5 minutes, everybody's going to
yeah.
fucking know.
I always tell people when they're like, because everybody knows I'm from Van, and they're
Yeah.
like, well, and I'll invite people over to the garage or for the podcast, and they're like, well, where do I go? And I'm like, just stop anywhere. Ask them,
Yeah.
hey, where does Clyde live?
Yeah, just ask where Clyde lives.
They're gonna be like, oh,
just ask where Clyde Hays is. They'll point you in the direction.
Right down there. Right down there. So, I mean, this is almost 3 hours, bro.
Fuck, really?
Yeah. You got anything else you want to go over? I mean, we went through a lot of your life. Shit, you probably forgot.
Yeah. And there's some shit that I don't remember. I just can't.
I know.
But
me watching you grow, because me and you've been friends, what, 5 years? Almost 6?
Yeah, 5 years, almost 6.
When we first met, you could not be around people at all.
No, I couldn't. I will firmly tell the truth on that. I was not in a good place.
Watching you grow this business has been both me and my wife has been.
Oh, it trips my family out.
Exceptionally proud of you.
It trips my family out to all hell and back. One of my cousins, I was over
the kilt,
it,
bro.
It's the kilt. It is always the kilt. But no, one of my cousins mentioned to me, literally just, because if you've met my family, you understand how blunt we are. Just looks at me and goes, how the fuck are you selling shit to people? You, not what you're selling.
Yeah.
You didn't have questions about what I was selling. How the fuck was I selling stuff to people?
Yeah.
And to tell that, I told her, I was like, fuck, I don't know.
Yeah. You're doing good at it, though. I mean, you were with us. So everybody knows that I only do one festival a year, and that's the Scottish Fest in Tyler. Yes. Y'all had a booth at the Scottish Fest, and y'all did good.
Yeah. Last year, we did a booth at the Scottish Festival. And we had not even been a full year at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, we had been a company for a year, but we hadn't been selling stuff for a year at that point. And that was a one-day show.
Yep.
And we did rather well.
I hope y'all go there this year.
I want to be.
It's 10/22. 10/22/22. I've already talked to the guys up there. Because I mean that's our event of the year.
Yeah,
the family turns out.
Yeah, that's the Hays Clan event of the year.
That is our hugest event. We plan for it all year. My wife, even sometimes I would be sitting there thinking, babe, we need to do this. She's like, that's like 4 or 5, 6 months away. And I'm like, I know. And then she'll do the same shit to me. I'm like, you just told me that's 6 months away. Yeah, but I saw this thing. So I mean, it's one of the highlights of my family's year. I mean, the boys love it.
Oh yeah, it's
great. As soon as we leave the event, they're steady. Dad, when is it again? It's only once a year. So
the year before that, I was actually out there with you. I wasn't out there with the company. The company didn't exist at that time.
So I was the catapult.
Yes, we had built the catapult to death. And I was out there with you and was at the clan tent. And it was fun and it was great. It was wonderful. And I had a really excellent time.
Yeah. It's exceptional. And we hope to see you there this year. I mean, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I don't care if I have to go do that motherfucker myself. I will, there, we will be at that show.
I like it. I like it. So
because it kind of tripped a lot of people out that our company specifically was at that festival.
Oh, yeah.
Not that anything fucked up happened with us being there, because the gentleman who runs the festival believes that celebrating the Celtic culture and all of its beauty, you have to celebrate all of the Celtic culture.
I take a jar of meat every year.
Yeah. And all of the Celtic culture, we didn't, the Celts didn't come into the world being Christians.
They did not.
They were pagans prior to that. And so that is what we were out there to represent, the essentially almost lost portion of
Scotland.
our Scottish heritage.
Yep.
And for those of you who don't know me, I am very, 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 very proud of where my ancestors on both sides came from.
Oh, yeah.
It does a lot to mold how don't get me wrong, I am a Texan. I will always be a motherfucking Texan. There ain't no hiding that.
If you
don't know, you know.
If you look at our logo, that's Sarah made it's not our clan class. We got our clan class everywhere. But she made the Hays Clan logo for East Texas. It says Texas Scottish Legend.
Yeah.
Texas is first.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. I will always be a Texan. No, it don't matter.
Yeah. How did you do with that in the military? Did a lot of people call you Tex?
Actually, surprisingly, only in basic.
Oh, really?
There was 9 other guys in my OSEC class that were from Texas.
Oh, no shit.
I was the only one called Tex. I mean, fuck, listen to me.
Yeah.
It used to be worse, but I had a deep East Texas drawl back then.
I'm sure you did.
And, but no, everybody pretty much, I never changed the way I talk.
Yeah.
I would still sound very much like an East Texas redneck. And for the most part, that played to my advantage.
Oh, yeah.
Because people would just assume, oh, he's just some dumb country redneck. And then somebody would say something and I'd quote fucking Macbeth and just fucking blow their brains out.
Tim, hey, let's wrap this up.
All right, brother.
Anything else?
Nah, everybody just understand it doesn't matter what path you follow, whether it's Christian, pagan, Hindu, doesn't matter. We're all telling the same motherfucking story with different fucking words. Just understand we are all one big motherfucking family. Don't ever fucking forget that.
Yeah. Stay sane.
Always.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
No worries, man. Y'all be safe.